Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. As a senior consultant, I am absolutely thrilled to be here with the team today to demystify data governance. Now look, I know the word governance can sometimes sound like bureaucratic overhead. It sounds slow, right? But we are going to reframe that completely. Today, we're turning it into a highly practical infrastructure that actually lets us innovate safely and, honestly, incredibly fast. We are going to calibrate your AI judgment skills and build a rock-solid strategy for handling your research data.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this session. First, we'll look at the messy reality of AI, followed by frameworks for data tiers and audit trails and accountability. Then, we're going to tackle collaborative governance, look at some really common governance pitfalls, and finally, we'll build out your actual data governance strategy.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the messy reality of AI and why unmanaged AI data is a massive liability.
So your lab is probably churning out clinical records, genomic sequences, and survey responses every single day. But really ask yourself, who actually gets access to the AI-processed versions of that data? And this isn't just a theoretical question. There was a very real case where a researcher published a paper using AI-analyzed clinical data only to get a nasty letter from their Institutional Review Board, their IRB. The board said the analysis violated their original patient consent. The result? The work became completely unusable, and the publications required immediate correction. It's a nightmare scenario. Without clear answers to this access question before you begin, you are sitting on massive institutional liability.
Think about it like this. In traditional analysis, you run a test on local software, and the data stays right there, safely on your machine. It's contained. But when you introduce AI analysis, especially large language models, your data is often heading off to the cloud. You are suddenly creating brand new exposure points and incredibly complex questions about data residency. Where exactly is that data being processed? Who controls it once it leaves your server? And it's not just about exposure. Cloud AI introduces the very real risk of hallucinations. I'm talking about AI inventing fake citations or fabricating statistical correlations out of thin air. Those hallucinations can instantly invalidate your research if you aren't tracking exactly how the data is being handled. So I want you to picture your data as a highly secure, top-secret facility. Data governance, that's your building security system. Your individual data sets are the rooms inside. Your access controls are the entry points. And your data steward is essentially the security guard, maintaining the visitor logs, knowing exactly who needs access to which room. Without this system in place, researchers are basically just cutting holes in the walls, accidentally locking each other out, and completely losing track of who's where. At its core, governance is simply about intentionality. It's about deciding the rules before anyone even enters the building.
Moving on to Section 2, Frameworks for Data Tiers, or how we actually structure access control.
To build a practical playbook, we have to cleanly categorize our data. We generally break it down into 4 main tiers. You've got open data, which is published, de-identified, and available to anyone, super low risk. But jump down to restricted. Now we're talking about identifiable, sensitive data that absolutely needs institutional review and strict data use agreements. Then there's institutional data, which is proprietary stuff strictly for your specific project team. And finally, privileged data. This contains the raw identifiers and audit logs, and access is reserved purely for leadership and stewards. You literally cannot apply the right security rules if you don't know which tier your data lives in.
But here's where it gets tricky. Here's the curveball. Does using an AI API mean the provider accesses the data? When we start plugging external AI services into these neat, tidy tiers we just talked about, access control gets incredibly complex. If you send restricted data through a Cloud AI's API, you have to verify whether their system's training incorporates your user data. Now, generally speaking, for enterprise models, it doesn't, but you cannot guess here. Your governance framework must explicitly cover these AI processing agreements so you know exactly who is peeking at your data tiers.
All right, Section 3, Audit Trails and Accountability. This is all about tracking the who, what, and why.
Think of a standard audit trail as your accountability engine. It absolutely must capture these baseline elements. Who logged in, when did they do it, and from where geographically? What specific data was accessed? And I don't just mean they opened the dataset. I mean, which specific variables did they look at? What action did they take? Did they just view it, or did they analyze or delete it? And most importantly, why did they do it? Having these logs is the only way we can detect unauthorized access and actually prove to our compliance teams that our secure facility is, well, secure.
Now, here is the absolutely crucial point for your AI judgment. When AI enters the chat, operations require extended audit trails. If a researcher uses AI to analyze sensitive health data, it is nowhere near enough to just log data accessed. Nope. The audit trail must fully document the exact transformations our data underwent. Which tool was used? Was it Claude? Was it ChatGPT? Which exact version of the model? And crucially, what was the exact prompt or configuration used? You need this level of detail to create total accountability, just in case questions pop up later about how confidentiality was protected.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, Collaborative Governance and Compliance, focusing on safe sharing across institutions.
I love this real-world example from Dr. Aaron, who runs a genomics lab. His team wanted to analyze 500 whole genomes using an AI model. Now, usually, that means getting bogged down in months of bureaucratic red tape. But instead, he used this exact transparent protocol. Step 1, strip all the identifiers. Step 2, get explicit IRB confirmation that de-identified AI analysis is approved. Step 3, run it locally so the data never leaves the jurisdiction. And Step 4, meticulously document the exact AI inputs and outputs. By following this highly intentional governance process, his team gained full clearance to do their work in just one single week, rather than waiting 3 months. That is a game changer.
Of course, when you expand that out to multi-institutional sharing, things get quite a bit heavier. For legitimate collaboration, every single data sharing agreement has to negotiate these core essentials, but I really want to draw your attention to that last point: AI processing approvals. What if your collaborator decides halfway through a project, hey, let's use this cool new AI tool, but it wasn't originally planned? Does that constitute a reuse that requires a whole new round of approvals? Your agreements must explicitly define if collaborators are allowed to use AI tools. If you skip this, you are setting yourself up for massive legal and ethical conflicts down the road.
Which brings us nicely to Section 5, Common Governance Pitfalls. This is where teams typically go wrong.
As your coach today, I need you to actively watch out for these traps. The biggest one, governance theater. This is when an organization creates a massive 100-page policy binder that looks super impressive, but is so painfully complex that literally nobody follows it. It gives leadership a false sense of confidence while masking actual regulatory risk. Then there's underestimating privacy risks, which is basically mailing your highly sensitive research data to an unknown cloud AI without ever reading the terms of service. And finally, creating complex processes without designating a clear decision maker. That just leaves your researchers completely paralyzed when all they want to do is test out a new tool. Another massive pitfall happens right at the end of the data lifecycle. Teams spend 40% of their energy on the active research phase, and another 40% making sure the findings are preserved long-term. But they completely neglect that final 20%, responsible disposal. Think about it. If you've used AI to process sensitive data, and those AI-generated products weren't fully de-identified, you can't just leave them sitting on a server somewhere. They need to be destroyed properly too. You absolutely must have explicit retention and responsible disposal policies in place. And finally, Section 6, your data governance strategy. Let's look at a quick consultant's checklist to get you moving.
All right, here is your immediate, highly practical action plan for evaluating task risk versus AI capability. Step 1, just create a simple one-page data inventory. Ask yourself, what data sets do we actually have, how sensitive are they, and where exactly do they live? Step 2, pinpoint your single highest-risk AI use case right now, and weigh that risk against what the AI model is actually capable of doing. Step 3, map out exactly how that specific use case gets approved and documented. And Step 4, bring your IRB and your privacy officers into the conversation early. Honestly, they are not there to block your innovation, they are there to help you navigate the risks thoughtfully. Start right here. You don't need a massive, convoluted manual, you just need clarity and intentionality.
I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. Imagine your IRB knocked on your office door right now and asked, exactly what approvals do you have for running your research data through these AI tools? Could you answer them confidently in 5 minutes? Think really deeply about that, because if you can't answer it right now, well, that is your governance gap. Fixing that gap is your #1 priority to ensure your team can keep innovating safely and responsibly. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will see you next time.